think I'm live. Yes, I am. Welcome, everyone, to this week's political recap. Notice from the lack of title, yes, I set this up a bit later than anticipated. You can thank Asda for taking forever with this morning's shopping. What was meant to only take an hour took 4. Yes, thank you for making something so overly complicated that we had to go 3 towns over just to get food. That is a damning statement. Yes. Anyway, joining me for this, I'm going to say that a few times, just because of you, Trups, is TrupsLP. Say hello, TrupsLP.
Hello, TrupsLP.
I'm surprised you didn't say hello, TrupsLP.
You know what? That I could have,
Could have, yeah.
but I didn't because I'm so good.
Live, yes. How are you today, Trups?
Trups is okay. Finishing up work was, you know how you get really close to something, you almost have it, just something about it is eluding you,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to keep working on it, but you know that the more you work on it, the more you're not going to get closer to that end.
Yes.
Well, okay, so that was my life at work this week. It was a steady grind trying to fix a coding thing, and I almost have it, but I have to step away from it for now.
Well, I'm sorry you have to do that. I'm sorry that
Well,
you're
I
still
mean,
having
work
to...
week, man.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. At least you're able to work. That's great.
Yeah, I am remarkably lucky for that.
Yeah. He meant grateful as well.
What did I say?
I don't know. He said lucky, I guess. I
Oh,
can't.
well,
I,
yeah. I mean,
I
that,
can't. I can't remember. I have a bad memory. Okay.
yeah, it's fine.
I. Yeah. I was supposed to have gone downstairs and written notes at the dining room table for this, and all I did was put my notebook downstairs. It's still down there. I could really do with it here. Professional.
Good job.
Yes. So where should we start today?
Um, that's a damn good question. I do actually want to talk about some of the protests that have been going on, because I don't know if you've been paying attention, but a lot of folks have been remarking about how much of a political statement these have become. Right? Have you noticed, even in the BBC, or actually the Guardian was one that I had found, calling the people who are protesting in Michigan right wingers,
Yes.
or
Okay. So
my personal favorite.
Eden, a patron on my server, she last week linked me something, a few things, and I have them still buried on my Asylum server where I do my work. That was showing that there were claims that the people who in Michigan were protesting were blocking the roads for the essential workers, like ambulances. But actually, they weren't. They blocked a side of a road. The road itself, though, was still accessible, and the ambulances were able to get through easily and freely. But I found it interesting, those that were protesting, because they're all talking about it from a position of it's our God-given right, it's our whichever amendment or constitutional right. But those that are saying it seem to also say, I get that people are getting sick, but at the same time, we need to work. You're right, you do need to work, but you're just risking, you're creating more of a risk, which is where the problem is. There's no real balance yet, and it's going to be a problem. I don't know how to address it, to be honest. But there are. I did see the Guardian one, because the Guardian, there was 2 actually. There was an independent one as well that shat on the protesters, and just went
Yeah,
down. Oh, you're all right wingers. No, they're people. I just normally think they're,
they're workers.
yeah, that's it, blue collar. That's it. Is that blue collar?
Yeah,
Yeah. You're blue
pretty
collar
much.
workers.
Yeah.
They're the ones that aren't get. Okay, so as far as like work goes, there isn't much in the way. In the work is taking the bailouts aren't exactly going to get to them anytime soon, are they? Or if they have got them, they're not going to cover for long, are they? So people want to
Well,
go back to
that's the
work.
biggest thing. It's that they won't last for long. And honestly, I'm half glad that the video that I was going to release yesterday I didn't, because the amount of information I have on this right now is much better suited to a stream than it is to a video,
Very well.
because I much prefer the conversation. It's a little easier to convey the information.
Very well then. We can do that. I'm okay with this.
So the thing in Michigan where they had alleged that individuals were blocking ambulances. There are several memes that have been posted on Reddit and Facebook
Mm-hmm.
of different images from that protest. And one of them, posted by one of my friends on Facebook, literally was a person standing in the road, and it said this doctor came out to tell this person to get out of the road or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think yeah, I'm dropping it in stream sources just so you can see it as well.
Yeah, of course. Brilliant.
It's a tweet from Chad Loader. That's a great fucking name. The Michigan Proud Boys organized a blockade of the intersection at a green light outside Sparrow Hospital. A doctor came out of the hospital to plead with them to let the ambulances through, and the image shows a individual in a lab coat, presumably a doctor, standing between cars and appears talking to one of the individuals.
Right.
So it's not necessarily that the image captures a confrontation, more of an interaction. We don't know if that was a pleasant conversation. Maybe they know that person. Maybe they're saying hi. Who knows? It literally could be, and that's the issue that I have. Also, if you notice, this tweet actually cuts the street name. You see the green light, the bottom of the green light, but you actually don't know what street they're on.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up looking it up. I went to the Detroit News, and they posted an article that quite literally said that the police say that no, there actually were no individuals who had blocked ambulances. No emergency services reported that there were emergency vehicles that couldn't get through, and no complaints from the hospitals, and no complaints from ambulance drivers. So where did this come from? Well, there's a bunch of pictures of ambulances moving slow, sure. But you also notice that they're moving.
Yeah. So
why would... Okay, go ahead.
I can add to this. I actually know someone in the Detroit metro area who I was talking to about this. And it wasn't the main roads that were being... There were some roads that were being partially blocked, but they were not direct roads that go to hospitals. There were some roads that were kind of more like side roads. They weren't the important ones.
I know some were around the Capitol, but they were trying to just make a statement in front of the governor.
But they don't block or obstruct an ambulance. Because the routes...
And I don't think any of them did, at least as far as I'm aware. And based on this this document, which came out, or article, not document, it's a little too uppity for...
So you'll find the articles I got sent. Article. Where are they?
Because I just dropped the Detroit News one for you too, and I literally had posted this because one of my friends posted this fucking tweet picture.
Here we go.
On Facebook, I was like, no. Here's a direct quote from the article. But hospital, ambulance, and police officials say they had no reports of any patients being endangered by the protest. Sparrow Hospital spokesman John Foran said last week that some hospital personnel were delayed in making their shifts on the day of the protest, causing some personnel to work past the end of their normal shift. But the ambulance entrance to and from the hospital remained clear, Foran said.
So I have an article to counter this from the Lansing State Journal. Lansing is in Michigan. With others about claims of it causing issues with patient care. The Lansing Fire Department have confirmed it did not cause any issues with it. That was one of the ones I dug up when Eden sent me this stuff about the protests against the strict stay-at-home orders. I will, of course, if you're interested, Trups, link you the other two articles. One is the Guardian one, but I archived these, and I archived them a while ago because I was going to make a political video on it, and I decided, nah, fuck off, I can't be asked.
I feel like we have a similar problem. Also, thank you, Heather Hent 444. Everyone, please take care. Thank you from Georgia. Oh, thank you, and stay safe out there. I know your governor wants to reopen things.
Thank you very much. It was incredibly generous of you.
Yeah, just you guys stay safe out there. I got some friends out in Georgia as well, so.
I think a few of my a few
Good for
people
you.
on the server are from Georgia as well. I don't envy you.
Some of the people who go to the LARP I attend are in Georgia, so
Well, stay safe, all of you.
yeah. Well, it's just do the smart thing, and so that's kind of actually a bit of a some could call it a hypocritical point because I say do the smart thing, stay safe, that kind of thing, but also I agree with these protesters. Um, I do understand that there is a risk that comes with protesting and the protesting of reopening the you know, reopening the economy. I understand that there's a risk to that.
Hmm.
The issue that I know exists is that, okay, so these people stop working. That means they don't have food. They don't have money to buy food. A stimulus check comes once, and depending on where you live, the $1,200 to $1,400 that were allotted to the American people, while that is a major sum of money for the government to take on, that isn't going to save a lot of people. There are bills that stack up quite a bit more than just that,
Yeah.
and the government necessarily doesn't. They need to give money, but they don't need to basically subsidize your entire paycheck, which was a thought at one point, but it simply is not feasible.
Is there any way they could reduce the cost of the build parts by leaning on those companies to just reduce things temporarily?
Yes, and they have. So
I
individuals who are
cast you
furloughed,
away with
there
the
Oh,
big
hang on.
gun called Thought
basically
Repellent
Socky the
Spray.
Real. Adeptus Sororitas has it right. Cleanse all with fire. Cheers, Socky. I think it said with fire. I wasn't quick enough. Thank you for the $5
thanks,
or
Saki.
£5 donation. £5, I think. Thank you.
Um, so the government has already like leaned on certain companies and a lot of what's the word, utilities companies and landowners
Hmm.
to give people a break when it comes to paying their bills on time. Because here's the thing, if you evict somebody, who's going to take their spot?
Yeah.
No one. So even Trump said, if landlords give you trouble, call us.
Oh,
And I
sorry.
was like, damn, okay.
Um,
That's the biggest tell mom I've ever heard.
Sanitizer donated $5 to you. Use me. Also, wash your hands. So, thank you, Sanitizer, for donating to Trups. Very kind of you.
Thank you. Pretty sure you're Saki.
More than likely.
Yeah. So, yeah, the biggest tell mom ever, call the White House. If landlords are giving you trouble. No, it was some individuals who are basically saying, yeah, call call the White House task force and they will set whoever is causing the issue straight. Um so that is an option and we have gone that route, but food is still food, right? That part isn't going to change. It's much easier to curb a cost when it's a one-to-one transaction or a one-to-one to then government transaction, like in the case of homeowners, for example, right? So if the rent payer then pays the landowner, who then has to pay back a mortgage to a bank, it's much easier to deal with that situation from a government standpoint because there's less ties. You can't necessarily do the same for food because food goes through a processing plant to the farmer to the consumer to the store that it's sold from. It's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to subsidize that level of production. But the other issue is that I don't know if you're aware. I think I talked about this last week too, but there are farmers who are tilling their crops back into the soil and who are basically dumping milk out if you're a dairy farmer.
Oh, we've had some some farmers in the UK have to do that, which is costing them hundreds of thousands of pounds a day because retailers aren't, the demand isn't there anymore because people are, they're not able to store it for as long, or because they're not able to go into the shop and buy as much as they normally buy, which is hurting farmers here as well.
See, for us, it's actually a different problem.
Yeah.
Our transports aren't up and running to their fullest capacity. So
Ah.
our, a farmer in Iowa can't ship thousands of pounds of potatoes to a processing plant in Illinois to then get spread out all over the country if A, processing plants aren't open and some have closed, or shipping companies aren't operational.
Yeah.
Especially with the problem with the airlines at the moment, you can't even ship it over the air.
Okay.
So it becomes a major problem, and this is where I think that the protesters have a very valid point. So they're protesting, hey, we want to reopen the economy. And a lot of people who are protesting, yeah, some of them have stupid signs like I want to go get a haircut, I want to go golfing, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, those are stupid signs. But the bigger picture is that food needs to go to people's tables. Money needs to be had to acquire that food. Food banks are already hemorrhaging in some places in this country. There's not food to be brought there. Now, some dumbass has made the point, well, why don't farmers just donate the raw food to the food bank? Because it's not processed, you psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me just bring unpasteurized milk to your food bank. Yeah, that'll go over swimmingly.
Yummy.
Yeah, you'll be able to drink it for about 10 fucking minutes before you get food poisoning because the amount of shipping time it's going to take to ship unpasteurized milk all the way to every food bank.
That's not fair.
Disgusting. No, it's not fair to anybody. It's not fair to the farmers they have to do that. Like, dairy farmers must milk their cows regardless. There is a it's not mastectomy. It's a there's a situation that it's basically they get full up on milk, and humans have this problem too at some point where the breast will actually become hard. Is it mastitis? It's something like that. Anyway, the problem is they have to milk the cows constantly because that's what they're grown to do, and that's what they're used to. If you stop that, you are
Mastitis,
causing their
yes, it is,
bodies
by
to
the way.
basically. It is mastitis.
It's commonly it's normally under inflammation for women.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah, but that's the situation, and you have to constantly milk these dairy cows. It's important.
But it's unfair.
Now the other issue is that other countries are no longer exporting, right? So Russia has shuttered their borders when it comes to their wheat exports, and several other countries have denied their exports, but Russia's the one that comes to my mind. Um, so I believe the UN had even warned that we could see a global famine because of this too.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe they said like a couple dozen countries would be the first and hardest hit. And that's going to be a major issue because a lot of these countries, both the UK and the US, provide food aid to some of these countries that we simply can't provide. So that's really what a lot of these protesters are protesting, whether they know it or not. That's the truth of it. Now, some of them are very well aware that you need to reopen the economy because the world simply can't sustain the way that it does, the way that we're forced to live at this time. It's kind of like if you tried to slow the Earth's rotation and make it stop, you would cause massive damage.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Todd, for the comment. I need to be milked regularly.
Hey, clipped.
I just saw that in the chat, and I was like, oh, dear God, I love it. Well done.
There is
So,
something interesting
mhm.
about the UK when it comes to lockdown. In that our health secretary has said that businesses never needed to close, even though all businesses were advised to close by him.
Who, Boris?
Such an idiot.
Was it Boris who told everyone to shut
No,
down?
no, Matt Hancock, he's the health secretary. There were others involved,
Hmm.
but he made the announcement, and now he's also said businesses never needed to close. In fact, apparently, people like places like McDonald's are considering reopening in May as we move ourselves out of lockdown. Um, and
Hmm.
I'm sat back like, I'm sorry, our death rate is still really high, infection rate's equally still quite high, but oh, it's London, of course it is.
Oh, oh, it's London.
Ah, fuck you, London.
Don't you know London is the entire UK, just like New York is the entire United States?
Yeah, it's why the rest of the UK voted out of the EU, and
Yeah, I
parts of
can't
London
imagine.
too. Parts of London did vote out too. I should be fair about it. Oh, it's so bad.
Um, the yeah, um, that's actually counter to our situation. Like in the case of Michigan, where, by the way, all of the drama is coming out of Michigan right now. And if fucking people from another country didn't know where Michigan is, like back then, they know now just because of how stupid shit is right
Hmm.
there. Um, the one that looks like a mitt, by the way. Uh,
I was meant to be
it looks
going
like an
there
oven mitt.
like every year for the last 3 years. I'm supposed to have gone there to see a friend.
Oh yeah.
Sadness.
Well, their governor did shut down businesses, and they didn't give them an option, which some commentators have said that they should have.
Hmm.
They should have given business owners the option to weigh the consequences, like a free country would, and say that, okay, well, our business directly interfaces with the public. We need to close down because our employees are at risk.
Yeah.
As opposed to a place like, a shipping company, right? That ordinarily sanitizes their stuff anyway. Like the post office is still able to run, right? Well, how the fuck are they doing it? Besides the fact that they UV treat most things.
Hmm.
Um, So, some shipping companies theoretically could, but then the problem is, okay, so truck drivers have to drive across the country, hitting every gas station that they can hit in the meantime, and how many other people have gone through there, and is that a danger to their health? Yes, possible. Um, but protests aside, like we're at this point, we should be very well aware that the protests are more than just, okay, they want to go back to doing their everyday lives. It has bigger ramifications. But what I hate, and what was eventually going to be the crux of the video that I was going to put out yesterday, was the politicization of the protests, calling them right wingers, calling them the Proud Boys,
Hmm.
and then obviously posting up pictures like Chad Loader did. And the fact that people on my Facebook also are getting this and posting them and sharing them means that it's, people who don't necessarily follow news all the time, they are getting this information and it's wrong. Um, we're in a global pandemic, but we still can't have objective reporting. And it's fucking pissing me off. Thoughts?
I have no thoughts on this, to be honest. Because it's so.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's such an odd situation to be in. And I don't know what the right
Mm-hmm.
answer. I normally address things of whether they're correct or not, and I don't know what's correct for this.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. And don't get me wrong. Um, there are people who have taken sides in the political sphere,
Yeah.
and they may get burned regardless of what side they take.
Yeah.
So Governor Kemp in Georgia wants to reopen.
Right.
Trump actually disagrees with him. Says that he thinks that he should give him a little bit more time, especially because Georgia hasn't really done much to stifle the amount of active cases that they have.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at their total cases and then the active cases,
Yeah.
they've had all the active cases since the start. They're still the same ish number minus a couple thousand.
Yeah.
Which are it's actually more like several hundred, and those are actually accounted for in deaths. So, yeah, no, very few have gotten cured.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Georgia's reporting has gone.
I did
Now,
notice, just before we continue, so I mentioned in the chat, everything got shut down. Where I am, most things are shut down as well. But I did notice today, on the way to Folkestone, there were bakeries, there were pubs, they were open in Folkestone, which surprises me considering the amount of, let's say, emphasis on places being shut that were non-essential, and some could argue that they shouldn't be open. Pubs especially. I don't know why that pub was open. I was very confused. It does have me a tad concerned for flouting those
some people
rules.
have had their businesses open, but they've been doing it in like a speakeasy style
Mm-hmm.
1920s where hiding our fucking booze from the cops, enter through the back door and say the password kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Which in a romantic sense, that's kind of cool. Like the fact that we have like this, like somebody could write a book in a situation like this, and it could be a bestseller. For a young adult like drama novel kind of thing, right? Where people who have businesses that aren't allowed to be open under government decree have to have this backdoor speakeasy kind of bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
and set it in a post-apocalyptic fucking dystopian future where the government says that if you're within 3 feet of your fucking family, then you can get fined or arrested by a group, not just one. A group of
Really?
police officers will be on your ass.
Damn.
Did you see there was a tweet that I had retweeted, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, of some guy in the UK, and there were a quote unquote reports of that man having a party, and the police broke in his fucking door
I mean, like half a dozen
and
of them
start
burst in armor with guns and all that.
yes. Yeah, because there was allegedly a party, and the man is yelling at these fucking cops for saying, "What do you mean you fucking broke in my door? You asked me at the door, I said no, then you kicked in my door. What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Yep. I saw that video. It is tragic.
I'm so mad on behalf of that man. I thought that was utterly disgraceful, but we've known that the Met
It
has.
is. The thing is, the police in this country have been doing some stupid things. I would be now remiss if I didn't point out. So have the people. The police have busted up hundreds of parties and large gatherings in Manchester within a week. What are you doing? Why do you? Can you just like? Can we just get through this, please, and you can have your parties? I know it's like that. It's kind of maybe it's like to them a thrill akin to that of doing illegal drugs. Ooh, it's a thrill. I'll go do it. How about no? How does that sound?
Well,
Can you not?
not only that, well, you know what? In the UK, it's a different story, I think. But the argument for the US to have freedom of association and freedom to gather is it's a right that you have fundamentally. Sure, understood. Now, of course, there are dangers. Everyone knows that. You also have a right to fucking gather in a burning building,
Mm-hmm.
technically, but
Mm-hmm.
it's probably not wise.
Mm.
That being said, unless the cop is literally there to take you out of it, you theoretically don't have to leave.
Yeah.
And the only reason why you would have to leave is because that cop said so. And that's not how the laws in this country work. It's not that you have your rights until a fucking cop comes and tells you no. Um, there's an issue with the amount of constitutional rights in the U.S. that have been basically utterly destroyed, dismantled, and governors taking a extreme authoritarian role. That even Governor Whitmer in Michigan has about 12 different lawsuits filed against her at the moment.
That's a lot of lawsuits.
Yeah, because she's actually, not only has she infringed on the federal constitution, but actually she's broken the Michigan state constitution. The amount of power that she has taken for herself is actually not legal in Michigan.
Oof.
A lot of states have the basically provisions that say that executive orders can, in the cases of emergency, be used in certain legislative ways to essentially make a pseudo law and enforce it as such. Basically saying that, okay, if you do X, you will have this consequence, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Michigan expressly does not have that, and they make sure to mention you don't have that right as the governor of Michigan. You do not have legislative power.
Okay.
You can't do that. So there are executive orders that basically have said that your fines and your you can, under penalty of arrest, you will be detained if you are found at a gathering. It's actually not legal.
Really?
It's very, very illegal by the state constitution as well as the federal
Oh,
constitution.
that's
But
not
the
good.
federal constitution is not what matters here. So it's a very strange thing to have happen, and the lawsuits have already been filed. But the warning or the problem is, all right, what state judge is going to rule against the governor of that state?
Don't know.
And better yet, who would you have to convince? Is this a jury of your peers kind of thing? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. The Michigan state law might be different. I don't know how it works. But that's a weird fucking scenario. And the only reason why she's in the public light right now is because there are talks that she's going to attempt to become the vice president under Joe Biden. What do you think of that?
Do you think this person's going to get this senator will be not senator, governor will be shafted when this all ends?
Big time, absolutely.
How long have they been in office?
Let's see here. The Michigan governor election is in 2021, so it's got to be 2-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
A little more, maybe.
Okay. That's not going to do well for her on the re-election, I guess. Is it her? Yeah, it is.
No. In 2021, I expect her to get immediately voted out if Joe Biden doesn't already take her as a VP.
Well, he might do anyway if he as a running mate. That might boost her popularity
That's
or something.
the talk.
People might just say,
that's the.
Go on.
Well, DNC operatives, Democratic National Convention, likes this person.
Or do they?
And they do. They like her a lot. And there was like this strange coalition between Whitmer, who the fuck else? Governor agreement. There was like an agreement with like several other state governors, and says that okay, we wish that we are all working together to decide when to reopen the uh, the the government the economy. What? You telling me that a bunch of governors have gotten together and basically decided to be in agreement when you guys open up your respective economies?
Hmm.
That seems a bit fucky.
That is strange.
I'm trying to find where she said that. Okay. Let's see here. Whitmer partners with 6 other Midwestern governors on reopening the economy. The latest agreement includes Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Kentucky. Um, the Midwestern Alliance joins pacts on the West and the Northeast that were announced this week. Altogether, the 17 states covered by the pacts are home to nearly half of the country's population. And their basic agreement is that our number one priority when analyzing when is best to reopen our economy is the health and safety of our citizens.
Yeah.
Oh, oh no.
Bit of an odd one.
That's that's bad. So 17 states of the United States have all joined together and agreed that collectively they will decide when to reopen the economy.
That's not good.
That's so fucked.
Is your state
And
one of them, or are you okay?
nope, nope. My state is actually considering opening.
Really?
Yeah, because we have like 2,000 cases total in like our respective area.
Okay.
No, not the whole state, just our area. Like the
May 1st.
yeah. So apparently, yeah, May 1st we're opening it up.
Thank you, Secretary, for helping.
Yeah, yes. She basically looked at me and holds up 4 fingers. She goes, "No, you're talking more about 4,000."
All right.
I'm like, no, around us. We're not talking about fucking the capital of the fucking state. But no, my governor doesn't care.
No.
The thing is that for most coronaviruses, the common cold and the flu being some of those coronaviruses, they don't live very long. They don't survive very long in a much more hot and humid climate like we have down here. So it's no surprise to me that situations like this, where we're not so close together, like people in Miami, for instance, that we have little amount of spread and infection. There are people, sure, there are areas, of course, but the main areas of our state that have been infected are a port, tourist capital of the state, and the literal capital of the state, which are major cities. So, I mean, no surprises there.
Right.
So, I mean, otherwise, you're telling me that we would, self quarantine and lock down ourselves when this state can keep running? This state is a major manufacturing hub. We need to be doing that.
If the infection rate is low in your state, then you shouldn't be made to stop because of other states having it higher. But then at the same time, one has to be observant and be careful with how they proceed going forward regardless.
Absolutely. And we need to be cognizant of that. In my opinion, I almost think that governors should let individual cities make sure. Because, I mean, we could let's take Gavin Newsom in California. No, Gavin Newsom's Virginia. Fuck, which one's the California governor? I think it's Newsom, but I'm not sure.
I couldn't tell you.
No, it was Gavin Newsom. Okay. Gavin Newsom in California. You mean to tell me that this person is deciding for the entire state what's best for every part of that state? So basically saying that the LA County is the same as mountainous counties in the north. We see the issue with doing it's kind of like if we were to say that Boris Johnson has shut down all of the UK, all of it, regardless of where you are, everyone needs to close down because essentially California is the size of the UK.
Yeah, we small.
And with some very different climates even, because we have very high mountainous regions in California. There are even places, because it goes so high and then so low in terms of the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
They have very different realms of existence. Not everything is San Francisco. The same thing could be said for Nevada. Yeah, a lot of people in Vegas might be fucked, but the asshole who lives in the desert probably isn't worried about it. Arizona has very few cases. Same thing. Texas is another one. Texas had actually considered reopening, and apparently is going to be one of the first to reopen. And they're probably going to make it so that major areas, Austin, Houston, Dallas, do stay in a little bit longer because their areas are much more infected and they're closer together there. But I know that as far as I'm aware, at least, the states that were considering reopening were Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Georgia. I don't know of any others, but I know that at least those 4 have considered it.
I know Sophane went a bit nuts about the Georgia one. No offense, Fane. I'm not taking a shot. Fane about Georgia, because he's obviously in Georgia.
Oh, he's limited access to his tweets.
Is he?
So I can't. Yeah, I can't see his tweets.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's limited access, and I actually was commenting against somebody who had commented on one of his posts, and I was like, "What even started this?" Oh, I can't see that. Great, thanks.
Sorry, man. Well, no.
I'm.
It's all good. It's nothing important, of course.
It's more like I want my. I need my tinfoil hat, Bernie bro, to tell me what not to believe.
It might help.
I mean, it keeps me sane a bit.
How would you know, Keith? You're in Alabama, remember? My valiant gimp steed.
That one's a weird one. Louisiana is actually really fucked when it comes to infections. We were looking at it the other day.
Isn't that quite a home state?
It is, but I think New Orleans fucked it up because New Orleans is like mostly a ghetto.
Ah, okay.
Like parts of it isn't, and then everywhere else is.
Right.
It's kind of like DC. Like, yeah, the center of DC is great. The outside sucks.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Would you like to hear something
but
else?
I want to.
Oh, go on. You finish. Sure.
Yeah. I want to see things. I want to see things open up because I think that a blanket sweep is just wrong. It's not correct for what we need as a country.
So, China has officially rejected calls for an independent international investigation into the origin of the coronavirus, deeming it a politically motivated idea that would divert China's attention from fighting the pandemic. Last I checked, they were just back to business as usual.
Oh, no, no, no. China just locked down an entire city.
Again.
Again. Not
So
Wuhan, a different one, because a student came back from New York.
lovely. There,
Oh, it went bad.
an EU report has actually accused China of spreading disinformation about this, and it's not been confirmed, but it's thought to have emerged at a wildlife market at the city of Wuhan. The EU blocks external action service, yeah, says Russia and to a lesser extent China have targeted conspiracy narratives in the EU and neighbouring countries. Russia.
Us too.
Yeah. So China, what are they objecting to? Now, there were at the start of the pandemic, there were calls for it. Scott Morrison said he will push for an investigation into at the WHO actually, with the body already planning to discuss calls for a lessons learned review of health emergencies.
What does a learned review mean?
A lessons learned review.
Oh, I love those. I have them at work once in a while. They're
I'm
really
sorry.
fucking useful.
I'm sorry. We don't need hindsight. We need to know what actually
Mhm.
happened to prevent it happening again. Hindsight
Yeah,
doesn't do anything. Go on.
I just imagine some asshole standing up in a meeting, be like, lessons learned. If I were to be investigating a natural strain of coronavirus that could be, spread to the world,
Yeah.
perhaps I should take a bit more safety precaution to not walk through the wet market after my shift.
Yeah.
That
So
was my bad.
the interesting thing about this is, so far, Europe and the UK have declined to speak on that because there is a level of nervousness when it comes to confronting China, especially when a number of countries are dependent on Beijing for deliveries of equipment in dealing with the crisis, because obviously their factories are still going and they're able to pump out all the PPE. So the Chinese diplomat thinks that we need to dial down the rhetoric and confrontation because of how serious the coronavirus is. But I'd like to point out, we deal with a lot of things at once. That's the point of government, and I want an answer. I don't care for the blame aspect. I just want to know where it came from and how it came to be. Because you can only go so far with hindsight without that. Hindsight just says what you do when something like this crops up, but you don't have all the information. And you need all the information, don't you? Otherwise the process will be flawed when you try and respond again. I've said it twice in a different way, so yes, make of that what you will.
Interesting. You mentioned rising tensions with China. Did you know that a day or so ago, the U.S. Navy sent a strike group to the South China Sea?
Really?
Yeah, we were joined by the Royal Australian Navy, actually. And apparently
Nice.
they're running drills.
Really?
Yeah, which
Oof.
is a really fancy way of saying, hey, just in case we got to do this, you want to go practice? Yeah.
Oh no. Sorry,
Oh
China.
no, indeed. Which at the same time, at like the same fucking 24-hour span, Trump had released a statement that said if US ships are harassed by Iranian gunboats, you are to fire and destroy them.
I'd heard about that.
That one, and then the last one is that we sent anti-drug naval ships to Venezuela. So I think that everyone's flexing has become a bit much for Trump to handle and goes, all right, fuck you guys, we're going.
At least, I mean, people are saying it's only because of election season that Trump's been vocal, forgetting how vocal he was about shit before.
Oh, my ass.
And I don't think election season plays a part, although he does need to be seen doing something. There's no doubt about that. And there were accusations that we have been receiving defective equipment, Hope. But I don't. I only heard it on TV on BBC news. I had not seen any news sources of it.
And
Because I was too lazy.
hope for the mind. China keeps sending dysfunctional equipment to Europe. Says Lana Billy Jane, and Hope asks where'd you find that? It's true actually. The Spain sent back I think 1.5 million masks. And I'm sorry, tests. As I believe Italy did as well.
Oh, hang on, didn't you receive a bunch of those? Hang on.
Yeah. So there have been a lot of dysfunctional materials sent out of China. So that is a thing. See, half the problem with making videos is, during this whole thing is that I feel like I gotta keep up every fucking hour.
Oh
Things
no,
change
we
so
bought
fucking fast.
we bought 2 million coronavirus antibody tests from China, but we
Hmm.
haven't. Wow, did we receive them? They didn't. No, they didn't work. So we had to. We're trying to get a refund of $20 million.
Yeah.
That was an accusation last week, and there are a dozen sources on that one. I knew about that in passing, but I just dug it up. So yes, that is in fact true. But they're the tests, not the
Not the
PPE, not
masks.
the PPE. That's the
But
testing.
theoretically, you could not tell if the PPA was faulty,
Yeah, you struggle with the
which
PPE
is
ones.
kind of a terrifying thought, actually.
Yeah.
Well, hope for the mind. You probably can buy masks. Um, I don't know if they're the ones in particular that have been shipped in or out of China, but that the tests in particular, I know were faulty. I don't know if the PPE was, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to err on the side of caution and say they might be. Again, that's just I don't know. I'm speculating because I don't trust them. Yeah, so it's hard to keep up with all this fucking news though, because we have so many different fronts. We have the impending civil collapse of the United States Constitution, and that's a lot. That's a lot of information, and somebody could go on that tangent for a long time. Then you have the international problems with the US and Venezuela and China and dealing with the WHO and the UN's response to this whole thing. That's another whole task. People could dedicate entire channels to this at this moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a political commentator, it's hard to find this fucking information or it's hard to find a simple video because everything that I come upon, I feel like I have to write an hour-long fucking documentary. So sometimes I'm happy to find something very simple. This was a very interesting article that I found. Actually, is Daily News. Ready? I'm just gonna read the headline to you because I think this is hilarious.
Okay.
Qatari princess was caught having an orgy with 7 men in London.
What?
And well, the weird thing is, it's actually quite old when you look at it.
Okay.
It was an old article, but for some reason that thing popped up when I was looking at current news, and I thought just the fact that that popped up in current news is hilarious.
Yeah.
This is from 20. It's from 2016.
That's
It's hella
amazing.
old. This thing popped up in current news during the whole coronavirus. They were like, by the way, remember this whole Qatari princess thing? I was like, no, I never heard this. What?
Amazing.
So like current news, if it's not about like games or like a simple action, it's hard to find political content. Makes me think that I should just like in the meantime casually chat every day about like what's going on during like me gaming for like an hour instead of doing like actual videos. It's just like, hey guys, this is like my hour-long game stream
You
while I
should
talk
you should
about
stream to Twitch, to be
BS.
honest. You should.
Oh, Twitch, you think?
Why not? I do it.
I think I curse too much for them.
It's fine. You can curse. I just prefer not to.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
I have a channel. I've streamed there before, just not a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. Everyone
So
go follow
yeah.
TrupsLP on Twitch.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
I can't think of anything else. Oh, hang on, no, we do actually. There is one thing we haven't spoken about that
Okay.
we need to go to. In 5 minutes, I guess. Trump.
Oh, the Trump injection disinfectant thing.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
claims this was he claimed this was sarcasm.
I heard that. I was like, bullshit. It wasn't sarcasm. You were right. It just was spoken wrong. Just be wrong. It's okay.
Yeah, own the mistake. It's a lot easier.
Hmm. To be fair, though, what he said, um, literally word for word, the transcript reads, "Thank you very much. So I asked Bill a question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposing we hit the body with tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think that you said that that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you were going to test that too. It sounds interesting. He says right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost like a cleaning? Because you see, it gets in the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it would be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with, but it sounds interesting to me. That was the president's statement regarding this whole thing.
Yeah, UV filtration is a thing surface on the skin, not in the body.
UV radiation is actually a thing that you can do in your body too.
Yeah, but it's not on the not. Okay, so the funny thing about this is they do use UV to clean. Yes, you're right. It can be done partially in the body. Not like this. Not like this though. No, no, please don't.
The other thing is, in terms of light therapies, infrared light is used for a lot of shit.
It is.
Infrared light therapies apparently are used for a lot of inflammations as well as oxygenating the blood. So,
Yeah, that's true.
like, they are real. And in terms of, disinfectants, quote unquote, so technically you can actually aerosol hydrogen peroxide. And that was what they were using to clean the masks, to be able to reuse them. Theoretically, in small doses, you could also use that in a nebulizer, it turns out.
So what is
Which, again, not an injection, different method, but that's kind of weird that he wasn't totally wrong. So the fact that he came out and said, "Oh, I was being sarcastic," do you have to be? And what was even weirder is a little while later, it says that a question from a reporter from that same thing says, "But can I ask about the president mentioned the idea of cleaners like bleach and isopropyl alcohol you mentioned. There's no scenario that could be injected into a person, is there? I mean," and then acting under Secretary Bryan says, "No, I'm here to talk about the findings that we had in the study. We won't do that within the lab, in our lab." So, and the president cuts in and he says, "It wouldn't be through injection. We're talking about through almost a cleaning, a sterilization of an area. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it certainly has a big effect if it's on a stationary object," which means that the whole disinfecting comment was him talking about objects, not people. He's just not fucking smart when he was speaking about medical things. So he said words wrong.
I don't think that
That's
matters now,
literally
does it? You realise it won't
What?
matter. It doesn't matter that he's got it wrong. They're
Oh,
just
it's
going to
too
hammer
late
it.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So now conservatives have to be like, technically he's not wrong, because first of all, UV light injections are actually a thing. And that's kind of how chemo works too, by the way. Um, and I'm sure there is some form of quote unquote disinfectant injection. Now, it may not be bleach. That's probably retarded. But I'm sure there is some form of medical injection that is supposed to cleanse some parts of your body. I don't know what. Not aware. I'm not a doctor, nor do I have medical training besides regular first aiding.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but he got it from somewhere. It's not he didn't just invent this idea. Somebody told him something. And the fact that Lysol then came out and made a comment and Clorox said don't inject our product.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, you're not helping. You're not helping. Literally, if you had said nothing, nobody would actually think it was fucking real.
Mm-hmm. Well, accidents
And,
happen.
well, right, but they harken back to the fucking asshole who ate the chloroquine tablet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which now, at this point, most people are almost convinced that the wife fucking murdered her husband. The man was an engineer and he wasn't stupid. He just loved his wife and didn't think that she would ever do anything wrong. He was taking essentially a cocktail of vitamins to help him with certain issues that he was having.
Yeah.
So she mixed in the chloroquine with a soda and said that she had taken it too. And yep, and he died.
Oops.
And she had a history of berating him publicly. Even some of the man's friends attested to that. So, pretty sure that article, because you'll see that one pop up as a reason why they need to mention that no, you shouldn't inject bleach or Lysol because people might actually take it seriously. No, that the person who quote unquote took President Trump's opinion seriously murdered her husband. Allegedly.
I was going to wait for you to say that. I figured that would be your... you can have the pleasure of that one. What a mess.
Isn't there trace amounts of disinfecting agents in some pills for certain treatments? Yeah.
Trace, though. I think we're done before we get sucked into the semantics of that.
I literally could just bitch about this because
Yeah.
there's so much bullshit. Got your colloidal silver, brother. They make clothes of colloidal silver.
Do they? That's cool.
Yeah, there's a company that makes dress shirts out of colloidal silver. I'm
That's
like,
pretty cool.
what?
I like that.
What is that? That's cool.
That is cool. Before we leave, is there anything you would like to shill?
No, I got nothing to shill, but I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us during the quarantine.
Yeah, thanks for that. I do apologise this wasn't as I'd say on point as last week. We certainly I had it more down. I didn't today. I do apologise. I have nothing to shill myself, so we're gonna go. Thanks a lot for joining. Say goodnight, Trups.
Good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.